Hello, this is Mr. Stegeman, and today we're going to be talking about tabloid fiction writing. You'll notice that the headline here says, "The President Takes a Martian Bride." It doesn't sound like a very realistic thing to talk about, does it? Well, our next unit after this is going to be talking about research, using actual facts and helping explain a topic. In order to kind of draw us into that, we are going to write about some things that maybe aren't so true, using alternative facts, possibly. How we're going to do that is by writing a tabloid newspaper article. Tabloid news, sometimes when you're going shopping, you might notice that you'll see some magazines that have some kind of goofy things written on them. Maybe they're smaller, maybe they have some kind of pictures of goofy things like this over here, this guy over here. Maybe they have some kind of striking headlines that kind of maybe are too shocking to believe. Well, these are what's known as tabloids, and can be a lot of fun to read and also to write. Some things that we should probably think about before we start to write a tabloid are what makes for a good news story. When you think of a good news story, what do you think of? What constitutes a story that would be factual, something that would be interesting to read, and also get some good news out of it? Also, think about, do fake news stories that are obviously fake, do they serve any purpose at all? Maybe there's some good things. Think about that. Finally, why do people read these? Why have tabloids been around for so long? Why do people enjoy reading things that are pretty obviously fake? Some things that tabloids accomplish, one of the things that they do, they talk about celebrity gossip. Who doesn't love gossip? We all love hearing about Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie and all these different celebrities and Beyonce and Jay-Z and all these people. We love reading about them, about their lives. But sometimes tabloids take it to the next level. They make up crazy stories that have happened between these people. For example, we have right here Saddam Hussein and Osama adopt a shaved ape baby. Didn't actually happen, but it'd be a fun article to write about. What they do is they sometimes will take a normal story and add a crazy twist to it. Maybe these two talked for some reason. Maybe they had something that they shared in common, or maybe they both went to the same zoo or something. Well, what they did is they took that story and they made it crazy. They made that those two adopted a shaved ape baby together. Probably didn't happen, but it's still fun to read about. This word schadenfreude is something else that is kind of brought up often with regards to tabloids and celebrity gossip. Schadenfreude just means taking pleasure in someone else's pain. So if you had a celebrity that maybe you didn't care for that much, and you wanted to write about how they had some really bad luck in the stock market, or maybe their boyfriend or girlfriend left them, or something like that, that's an option for writing celebrity gossip. Something to think about is while you're writing this is, why do we care about celebrity gossip? Why do you as a person care about celebrity gossip? Or maybe you don't. If you don't, then think about why someone else might care about it. Something else that tabloids accomplish are tell-alls. Tell-alls are basically just personal stories that tell all about an experience. They can be a confession of some kind. For example, you could write an article about something about how I was obsessed with Twitter, or I was obsessed with Pokemon cards, or I was obsessed with chocolate milkshakes, or something goofy like that. Another thing could be a confession. Maybe you are a secret admirer of somebody, or maybe you secretly liked Pokemon cards when you were in high school, something like that. A confession would be a tell-all that can kind of interesting to read. Or maybe you could even write an I survived tell-all. I survived being eaten by an alligator, or something like that. All these things can have the potential to be really fun, interesting, silly stories. Another thing that tabloids often talk about are the absurd, the improbable, or the supernatural. Absurd just means that it couldn't possibly be true. Improbable probably pretty much means the same thing. Supernatural just means the things that are not natural, that you probably couldn't see. Some examples are Bigfoot, stories about aliens, stories about ghosts, stories about Elvis Presley coming back to life. I know he's pretty old. You guys might not know who he is, but maybe think about Kurt Cobain coming back from the dead, or David Bowie, or Prince, or one of these celebrities that have recently passed away. Maybe they didn't actually pass away. That would be something that would be supernatural. Something you see a lot of in tabloid news are things that have a human head. There's an example over here of a half human, half fish found in Florida. Maybe it's a sheep that has the head of a human. Maybe it's a snake that was found with the head of a human. Another thing you can talk about are folklore, urban legends. What's an urban legend that you know? Maybe it's something that you've talked about with your friends, so some kind of thing that you talk about, that you've heard about. Maybe instead of it not being true, maybe it is true. Take an urban legend and make it true. So what I want you to do now is we have this sheet right here. I'm going to show you how to find this. Go to the website, go to major assignments, go to tabloid writing, and there's a bunch of information here you can read if you'd like. There's a little bit more explanation. You scroll all the way down to the bottom and click on Story, Ideas, Paper. This is going to give you all kinds of information on different stories that you can write. My Christmas with a Biker Gang. You can do a first-hand story. Bigfoot tries out for the Dodgers. You can write a story about a non-existent creature. Brad Pitt and high school senior calls it quits after 72-hour marriage. Maybe two people are getting married, and write a story about that. Egotistical star makes fans retch with disgust. Deliver a story from an objective point of view. A subjective point of view. Write a really bad story about a celebrity or someone being really a real jerk or something. Write something that could never happen, a grandmother winning a snowboard competition, something like that. Or just write a story of any kind. Use some of these elements. What we would like you to do is, if you look in your Google Drive account, and you find, if you go into Google Drive, you will see a document that talks about tabloid writing. I'm going to show you the example here that's on the website. But you'll actually find yours in Google Drive, so don't go this way for it. It is actually in Google Drive. But let's take a look at what it looks like. You have an area that has 3 different ideas. So what we would like you to do is to pick 3 of the ideas from that document we just showed and write a couple sentences about each idea. So we're just kind of generating ideas right now. So that's your first assignment, to go ahead and come up with some ideas. What are some ideas? Maybe one of the things that you're interested in writing about are a first-person account of a shocking experience. Maybe you want to write about a mythical creature or something like that. Maybe you want to write about a celebrity. Pick 3 of those things and write down some ideas of a story you could write for each of those. That's what I would like you to do for the rest of today.